we're going to do this, but we're going to do it our way.
You bought a robot, baby?
Wow, that was a joke grenade. That took me a second. Imagine the poop emoji as furniture.
It's weird that we didn't do that 10 minutes ago.
We should have. We should have started that before, you know. That makes a lot of sense. Why wouldn't we do that?
Too late now.
Matt, you forgot to disclaimer this part. We're old, and we remember how it used to be. There, go. And it was better then, too. You got to put that in there. Ice is back with my brand new invention. Something grabs a hold of me tightly.
While you guys are weaving belts, I'm going to sing this little tune that I wrote.
We think we're funny. On with the show.
This is XRadioX.
I did. I hit record, Matt. That means this is episode... Is we 15 now?
15? Can that be right?
15 of XRadioX.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for
Hello.
tuning in.
Your wonderful host, Jayce, that's me, and Matt, that's the nice voice that you just heard.
Hello.
So, Matt, in this episode, this is the one where we're going to talk about, I won't say all of our favorite music because that's all we do is listen to music.
Many.
So there's so much. But I would say semi-big influential artists and music that we like and why we like it. How's that for a complicated title?
I've been referring to it as musical origin stories just because it makes it nice and simple. But we're not talking about the origin of the music. We're talking about the origin of how that music became important to us or became fun for us.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but as I was thinking about this for the past week or so, you know, after I texted you and said, what are we doing in our next one? Because I'm old and I didn't write shit down. And you told me, and I was like, oh, yeah. So I started thinking about it, and I was like, I have so many. And they're very specific in time, most of them. It's
hard.
So, yeah.
Well, and my problem is I have memory of specific things and specific times, but I have no concept of what year it was or what I was doing or where I was, just that it happened. And that's
agreed.
That's where my brain has misfires because I know specific detail about certain things, but then I couldn't tell you anything about, like, was it when I was 10 years old or was I 30 years old?
Yeah, it was, I had a very hard time with that. I had to look up dates because I can remember my age, but I couldn't remember the year, even though I know when I was born and I know how to do math, but I couldn't seem to put the age and year together. And then I was like, is that true? So I would have to look up when the album was released. I'm like, oh yeah, no, that checks out. Your memory isn't as bad as you think it is.
It's weird. Memory is weird for sure.
So we're going to get into that. But before that, since we, I would say we're ex-professionals now being professionals at other things, we should probably do, what we're minorly famous for and very professional at.
The disclaimer.
Okay. It's all yours this time.
All right. Well, we gave this about 15 seconds before you started recording. So here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we are what some people would call set in our ways. Please don't hate us if we get emotional, sound like old dudes, rant about nonsense, or use bad words. Listener discretion is advised.
That's good.
Thanks.
That might have been our most professional one so far.
I know. Not as funny, but certainly professional.
Yeah. And the origin of that was there was a little bit of us talking about us being old. And and there was I even told you were allowed to put in there, but you didn't because this was a professional one, that it kind of generated from a guy who wears pajama pants and a hoodie and stands in the middle of the road in his neighborhood and yells at people for going too fast with his white fluffy dog.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That was you.
That was me. Not this week, but within the past month.
But it's happened.
Maybe past 2 months because it's kind of hot now for hoodies. So.
All right. So let's get rolling on this because I think we have there's a lot and we'll either get to all of it or we won't, and we'll just have to do another chapter. Yeah. Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Sure. I'll get started.
All right, go ahead.
So early on in my childhood, probably we'll go with early 80s.
Okay.
Is when I really started to get into music.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of people want to think when you first start to get into music, especially when you've been listening and being a part of radio stations and music and college radio and garage bands and things like that, that you started out automatically with ultra hip and ultra cool underground cool stuff. I'm here to tell you that most people who tell you that are bald-faced liars.
Yeah.
They started out with pop radio just like the rest of us.
Absolutely.
And thankfully, I had MTV at that point in time in my early life, and pop radio, and radio was pretty awesome at that point in time. So I'll kind of get this started because it may set where this goes when you hear this.
All right.
So this was early 80s when I got my first cassette player.
Oh boy.
Yeah. First cassette. It was a little Emerson one. I had an Emerson radio and an Emerson cassette player. They were not the same. I had two. One was one was the other. Because to buy a combined one was probably super expensive.
Oh
in the
yeah,
early
that's
80s.
crazy. You need to plug them in separately.
So for my birthday, I was probably like 8, maybe 7, 8 years old, and I just wanted one. And so I got this cassette player, and then I got Culture Club's Color by Numbers and Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Nice.
Those were my first 2 cassettes.
That's a great start.
It's not really a bad start. You know, some people would look at that and go, oh, whatever. Culture Club and Michael Jackson. Dude, I was like 7, 8 years old. What do you want? I wasn't, really into new wave and all of that stuff quite yet. Give me a few years. And, but yeah, I jammed those over and over and over again.
So what songs, do you remember what songs were on Color by Number? By chance,
if I'm not mistaken, that was the one with Do You Really Want to Hurt Me?
Okay.
And Karma Chameleon. I believe
Great
Karma
song.
Chameleon was the big one why I wanted that. But that's not the first ones that were my favorites. I love them, don't get me wrong.
It's a great album.
Matter of fact, that cassette tape, that Culture Club cassette tape, connected me and my buddy Matt back in the day.
Oh.
So odd. We're like, what, first, second graders when you're that age? And he had a Culture Club pin on his jean jacket. And I had the cassette, and we were fast friends then, and we've been friends ever since. Yeah.
That tape also had Church of the Poison Mind, which is one of my favorite Culture Club songs.
Yeah. As I got older, that one was really cool. Mm-hmm. But as I didn't get that as a kid.
All right.
But see, that still not the favorite and why it became a favorite. But the aesthetic. Mm-hmm. Think of the aesthetic, not really of Michael Jackson's Thriller. Okay. That was a whole different thing.
Sure.
But the aesthetic of Culture Club, right?
Yep.
So I don't know if it directly led, how it led, even really how it began. But my first favorite rock band of ever, even before Kiss, who's on this list, is Poison.
Yes.
Yeah. And I even wrote down, I don't remember exactly when and why I started loving Poison, but it was right around junior high, like right in there. So it was a little after the whole Culture Club thing, but you can see kind of how it leads down there.
Are you saying Culture Club is a gateway drug to Poison?
It's funny because I called Poison a gateway drug to heavier metal. So sure, why not?
Nice.
Because
that's great.
Because their first album, Poison's first album, Look What the Cat Dragged In, came out in about 86. And when I saw the cover, it was all like glammy. And then I heard the songs and they were like loud and they were just kind of vapid and all about partying and kind of semi-tough. You know, when you're a junior high kid, at least for me, I wasn't tough, not even close, but I wanted to be.
Right. Yeah.
And I didn't have any girls around me, but I wanted them. And I didn't have a car, but I wanted one. And listening to their songs, they had all of those things. Cars, sneaking out of the house, hot chicks, talking dirty to them. I want action.
Yes.
With the cat dragged in, party, drugs, rock and roll.
Definitely.
I'm a kid from rural semi-rural mid Michigan. This is what I think I'm supposed to do.
Right.
What I'm actually supposed to do is go to school and get good grades, but this is what I thought I was supposed to do.
That's fantastic. And they were big on MTV. Like they blew up on MTV. Like and all of their videos were either rocking out on stage or just partying like idiots.
Yeah. And it was, all neon colors. I still to this day, if I find one, I will buy it. because they played BC Rich guitars in those. And if you're into guitars at all and we're into the whole 80s glam heavy metal thing, like BC Rich had all the crazy cut looking guitars. They had like the Warlock and the Bitch and the Stealth and the Iron Bird.
Those are their names?
Yeah. The Gunslinger. I mean, they had all the badass names. And they're all neon colors and stuff. And in that video, if I remember correctly, CC DeVille had I want to say it was neon green. It was either neon green or neon pink Iron Bird. I can't remember off the top of my head. But to this day, if I find one, I'm going to buy a neon green BC Rich Iron Bird. Because I am of the financial means now that I can actually afford it.
So you're telling me you're going to pick up that guitar and talk to me?
I will. If I buy that guitar, I will pick it up and talk to you over Zencaster, just like I am right now.
Nice.
And,
I have a confession to make about Poison. Can I make it really quick?
Yes, please do.
Around that time when you were falling in love with Poison, the music, not the people, but the music and the lifestyle, I couldn't tell the difference between Poison and Motley Crue.
It's cool.
I got those confused all the time. It was not in my wheelhouse. And I knew that some of their music was kind of cool, but they were so tough and so crazy that they just blended together. And it took probably a good 5 years for me to be able to say, oh, that's Motley Crue. Oh, that's Poison. And now obviously they're very different. But at the time I was like, I can't remember which one's the guy that like goes, Rita! And which one's the guy that like strums an acoustic guitar. I couldn't remember.
Oh man.
I know. It's a shame.
At one point in time, they probably all said that, and they probably all strummed an acoustic guitar. But I have some fun facts that always come to mind for me for Poison and why I was just totally obsessed with them for a while. Okay. And this was before I got into heavier metal. And so this was the first metal cassette tape that I owned. I had it dubbed. My mom's cousin's daughter did a boombox to boombox dubbing. Remember those? Where you would like put them in the room because you couldn't record directly. So one would play loud and the other one would record. Yep. So she dubbed Poison's Look What the Cat Dragged In on one side and Cinderella's Night Songs on the other. So technically my first heavy metal tape was Poison's Look What the Cat Dragged In with the B-side was Cinderella's Night Songs.
Interesting.
And she dubbed Look What the Cat Dragged In backwards. So I always thought the album started with Look What the Cat Dragged In.
Makes sense.
That was the first song on side 2 of the album. And the actual first song was Cry Tough, which was their semi-ballad. I think that was their first song they put to MTV that didn't really do anything, and then Talk Dirty to Me. And then now everybody knows, all of their things, Rock of Love, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. Wow.
Their bad version of Jingle Bells. Well, Bret Michaels' bad version of Jingle Bells. Their terrible version of Bringing Sexy back on Poison.
Which I'm so glad that I found out through Twitter that exists, but it's not great. It's not awful, but it's not great. They
do, in my opinion, do one of the best covers of Rock and Roll All Night and Party Every Day by Kiss. That was on the Less Than Zero soundtrack, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And so quick, I'll go through this. Poison, first concert I ever went to. Technically, the first band I ever saw play was Warrant because they opened, but Poison was the headliner.
Sure. Okay.
On their Flesh and Blood tour at Windler Arena in Saginaw, Michigan.
Nice.
I went with my buddy Kyle. My dad took us, and listen to that because you're going to hear that name quite a few times.
Oh yeah, buddy Kyle.
Buddy Kyle. And the fun story behind that is I ditched going to homecoming my freshman year so I could go to that concert.
Wow.
Because I was dedicated to the cause of my dad taking me to a concert.
You sold your soul to rock and roll.
I did many years ago. And I also had a dog named Ricky. Like Ricky Rocket, the drummer from Poison. Yep, sure did. They were my first heavy metal t-shirt.
Nice.
And I also thought that CC and CC DeVille, the guitar player, stood for Cotton Candy because he looked like a girl on that cover.
Wait a minute. Why did you think that?
Because why not? I don't know. I'm sure one of my friends is like, hey, dude, did you know that there's Brett, Bobby, and Ricky, and Cece? And did you know that Cece stands for Cotton Candy? And I was like, Of course it does. Why
must
wouldn't
be
it?
true?
He plays a neon pink guitar. Why wouldn't it be Cotton Candy?
Imagine growing up and having his mom yell at him, "Cotton Candy DeVille, get in the house."
It sounds like you're trying not to swear at your kid.
Yeah.
Damn it, Cotton Candy DeVille. What is your problem? One last fun fact.
Yeah.
Is when I got my first proper stereo with a 5-disc CD changer.
Sure.
And that was like, the biggest mix thing you could do.
Yep.
Poison's Swallow This Live, their live album,
Mhm.
was the first CD I bought. Technically, I bought it in a lot of 2 because the second one I bought was Pearl Jam's 10. Talk about a confused young man at that point in time.
That is an interesting genre bashing of those two things. But I mean, it was right around that time.
Yeah. And somebody I worked with gave me a Melissa Etheridge CD at that point in time too, which is kind of a throwback to another one of our episodes.
Did it have Come to My Window on it?
I think it was the one before that. It wasn't the Come to My Window album. She did not come to my window and give it to me. She gave it to me at work at Big Boy.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. So that's how you fell in love with Poison.
They were like, they were, because I had MTV and I had rock radio and aunts and uncles with albums, and I knew who Van Halen and AC/DC and all of those things were, and I liked them all, right?
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, Poison was the group that like connected, and I was just like, "Yup, I want big hair, and I want a fast car, and I want a party."
I am buying what they're selling.
Exactly,
for sure. All right. Well, my first one is a completely different direction. We start in the same place, but I went the opposite of Danger. kind of. So
I don't know if I would say Poison is Danger. And for a 7th grader, it might have been.
Yeah, compared to what you were doing in 7th grade, they were. So this is like, I don't know. I want to say junior high, maybe. I tried really hard to find a more accurate time frame, but I want to say it's junior high, maybe going into high school, beginning of high school, late 80s, early 90s, somewhere in that range. I was pretty much into pop music, CHR, mainstream rock, like bands that anyone had heard of, or you could turn on the radio and they were always playing because I just listened to the radio. That's all I really had. There was a girl who was a little bit older than me. She was friends with my sister, and there
always is.
I know, and I think we went to the same church.
Man, have I heard this story before?
I know. And she had a disgusting junker car, and she was a smoker, heavy smoker.
So she was cool. Got it.
So she was cool. So her car always smelled like gas and cigarettes all the time, mostly because I think that there was some sort of leak and we were, getting exposed to fumes. But she would drive me and my friends or somebody around in her car to and from church, probably, I don't know, to go pray. And she
listened. What you called it too?
Yes. She listened almost exclusively to Red Hot Chili Peppers, which at the time I didn't really like. Violent Femmes, and a little band called REM. And because she listened to REM all the time, and that was one of her favorite bands, I heard it all the time. And I wasn't really listening to it prior to that. I started to think, wow, this is a cool band. I kind of like what they're doing. And definitely not rockers, definitely not partiers. They were, sort of quirky guys, and I was sort of a quirky guy, and so maybe I related to that. But I got really into REM from that moment on. I bought, I think the first one I bought was the Out of Time cassette, and listened to it all the time. And I liked Violent Femmes, but I really honestly didn't feel like I could buy anything by them until a little bit later in my life. But with REM,
the name kind of throws you off when you're young.
Yeah, right. I wasn't quite sure what to make of them. I liked their songs, but I wasn't quite sure what to make them. But I listened to Out of Time by REM all the time. There was every single song I like, and what they were doing, I was completely on board for. around that same time, I had to read Jurassic Park for school. I had to we all had to read a book. We had to read Jurassic Park. That was the book we were assigned to. So we didn't get to choose, but I was like, oh, this sounds cool. Michael Crichton, Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
I would sit in my room, play REM, read Jurassic Park. There's a song on that album called Belong. And it's mostly spoken word with a little bit of singing in the chorus. But at one time, Michael Stipe says, those creatures jumped the barricades and headed for the sea. And I'm reading about creatures jumping barricades and heading for the sea while I'm listening to this song. And in that moment, I was like, man, REM must be reading my mind, or I'm on the same wavelength. And from that moment, I was like, I have to have everything by REM. I have to see what else they say to me that's going to speak about my life. And since then, that's been my favorite band since the late 80s. It's been my favorite.
That's pretty cool.
It's weird. And I don't know that I ever really, that girl, I don't know. It wasn't like I was.
Is her name Dana?
No, her name was Sarah.
No.
But it was, we didn't date or anything. We were just friends. But
did I ever meet this Sarah?
No, it was well before you and I met.
Okay, because there was the Sarahs we met in college, and I just wonder if that transferred over. I just wondered if that was like you're going to be like, and the connection we make here is it's one of the Sarahs.
And she's my next door neighbor. No, but that's how I got into REM, and to this day they're still my favorite. Not because of a girl, but she was the first person to play it for me in a cool setting. So I was like, cool people listen to this, and I want to be a cool person.
Yeah, see, and I get that because REM, along with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, along with The Cure, along with the Violent Femmes, and all those what I lump together as the 120 Minutes bands. If you watched MTV back when we were younger,
yeah,
they were on 120 Minutes. Like all of those bands. Well, I was loving Poison and Cinderella and Great White and Motley Crue and, you name Dokken, Rockin' with Dokken, all those bands, Lizzie Borden and all that, fun,
sure.
All the metal that I was getting into. I knew that I should like these bands too. And I secretly would listen to them, but I never would, because it was weird that time in, as I like to call it, semi-rural mid-Michigan, because I lived in a farm town, but I was not a farmer. I lived in town, not on a farm.
Yeah.
And they were just starting to be like, you were just starting to see other kids starting to get into them.
Yeah.
And, and trying to work that social hierarchy and all that stuff, especially when I was kind of trying to be a jock and kind of trying to be a metalhead, but yet I liked all of this other stuff that I didn't really ever let on to.
Yeah.
They were in that group of bands I knew I should dig, but I just wasn't paying enough attention at that time.
And I think that MTV did a really good job, and radio obviously is designed that way, but I think MTV did a good job of playing, for the most part, music that was acceptable or at least welcome to all people. And then they had the specialty shows where if you weren't into it, you'd say, okay, I got to go do something else. This is on, and yep. Unfortunately, like I went along with the sheep at the time. Like when 120 Minutes came on, I was like, well, this isn't a show for me. I better change the channel. Or even Headbangers Ball. I'd be like, no, that's not for me. I would change the channel. And I feel bad that I did, because it took me much later in life to actually circle back and say, wow, Screaming Trees were cool, or all these bands that got play on that format that I was just like, oh, I better change it. This is for the alternative dudes, not for me.
And not to dig too deep into it, but that moment when MTV was actually, and I feel like this is safe to say for a lot of our generation, except for the super indie kids, which were not as many as they'll lead you to believe. Trust me. But I remember the specific moment in time, not because they're one of my favorite bands. I mean, they're very influential in a lot of the stuff that I like, but I wouldn't go as far as saying they're one of my faves, but not on this list. So
yeah,
I remember the episode of Headbangers Ball when Nirvana was on and it debuted Smells Like Teen Spirit. And I remember sitting there like everybody else who saw it and went, well, shit, everything just changed.
Yeah.
And I remember having that feeling going, yep.
And there are moments, and that's kind of why I wanted to do this episode with you, because there are those moments that exist, and I'm going to talk about that specifically in one of my other bands that I'm going to talk about. But yeah, exactly. Like those things, you don't necessarily have to seek them out, and you don't necessarily have to have any sort of connection with what the artist is saying or what the genre is, but you're in that moment, you think, wow, well, this is something. Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, I have, and I like to think this episode that we're doing, it's kind of like, imagine your life is a TV show. And when like this moment happens, this song is accentuating it in the background.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Just like,
definitely.
Just like that. I hope I get this right, because I'm a big Friends fan, but I think of that moment when Ross and Rachel break up and the U2 song is playing in the background and the rain's coming down and like, what?
No idea what you're saying.
You have no idea what I'm saying. All right. If you've ever watched Friends, yes, it was around that whole thing. Never mind. Scratch what I just said. Other people out there would get it, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they would. No.
Maybe if I would have said, you know, that song that was playing in ER when you wouldn't drive us to the bar in college.
Yes, I know that song. Because
maybe that
I was watching the ER episode.
Because you were watching ER.
Of course, I remember that.
We were like, come on, man. But you know, small price to pay when you have a driver. Small price to pay, but always a fun thing to talk about. Anyways,
exactly.
The idea is the same. These are, you know, they stick out those moments in time. They accentuate that moment in time.
Definitely, for sure. What's the next one you've got?
So yours was REM, and I'm going to move to, and everybody has heard me talk about these guys, and they have been in and out of my musical life pretty much ever since I can remember. And no, it's not AC/DC.
I just don't know why neither of us have made a Kiss is on your list joke yet.
I think you just did.
Okay, cool.
So my next one, if you didn't figure it out, is Kiss.
Yes.
And, you know, growing up in mid-Michigan, since I'm a man of a certain age, it's almost impossible to not like Kiss at some point in your life. But
Fair
mine
enough.
is probably not the same start as everybody else's. Yes, I remember Kiss being a kid. Yes, I remember them on the radio, rock and roll all night, party every day, Detroit Rock City. I mean, growing up here, they're pretty much beat into your head from when you were born. I was born in, you know, the mid 70s. Yeah. So you guys can figure that out. But my first, like I wrote here, I was like, I think they subconsciously became one of my favorite bands because of all of those things, because they were just on.
Yeah.
But the actual song that made me go, I really like these guys was Lick It Up.
Really?
Yeah, because, and there's a story. There's always a story. So Lick It Up, the album, was the first one after they took their makeup off, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure it was first one.
This album was non-makeup.
Non-makeup. And had a video on MTV for it. And, you know, it was 83, so I was like 8, 9, right about in there.
That's so weird. Isn't it weird? Because I'm sorry to interrupt, but isn't it weird that you look back on the timeline and you're like, I couldn't possibly have been 8 years old. Like it seems crazy.
Like, not to stall what we're talking about here, but it makes me wonder that when my kids are in their mid 40s, what they're going to say, you know, at 8, I remember. And that became one of my favorite things. Like, what is their thing going to be?
Right.
Like,
it's so weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
And kind of scary, because the things that we did at 8 or then a few years later at like 12 and 13, it's terrifying, especially if you have kids. Yeah.
But that's probably another episode. But seriously, if you think about, like, what are my kids going to dig from when they were 8, 9, 10, 12, 15, when they get older? So that'll be interesting to see. Hopefully I make it that long to know all of those things.
You will.
But yeah, so Lick It Up. That was the song. That was I was like, Kiss. Because I saw the video on MTV.
They kind of look like
they look like creepy old dudes. Let's just face it. Like, when they took the makeup off, I'm like, these are not young rock stars like Motley Crue. They don't
No.
look like Poison. They don't look like all of those. I mean, granted, this was before Poison's album came out, but you know what I mean.
But they look like they should be on Breakin' 2. Like I'm looking at a still image of it, and they dress the part.
I'm gonna get to that part because they've got like the cowboy boots on, or the Western style boots, excuse me. But they're not Western style. They're like black leather and leopard print and red, I think, and leather pants, and and then there's girls in like post-apocalyptic hot girls. And
does it matter if you're hot in post-apocalyptic times?
I think hot's hot. Doesn't matter if it's pre or post-apocalyptic. Hot guys, hot girls.
Sure.
Doesn't matter. But, this is 8-9-year-old Jayce going, oh, what's this? And they're singing, lick it up, lick it up. And my mom sees this. My mom knows who Kiss is. She knows Kiss, the demon, Star Child, the cat, the spaceman. Right. And she looks at this and goes, I don't know the exact words, but I'm sure in her mind is, what the fuck is this? My 8-year-old, 9-year-old's watching grown men yell, lick it up to hot post-apocalyptic girls who are like squirting water in their mouth out of what looks to be like a mustard bottle. I'm not sure what this is, but
doesn't make any sense.
And
yet it makes perfect sense.
It makes no sense, but all the sense all at the same time. And that was the video that got MTV banned from my house for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
That did it.
So of course, I mean, yep, I love this. And then as I got older, Kiss pops back up again with Revenge came out when I was in high school. Good album. Still no makeup Kiss. Then early college when I was at Northern, one of the summers I came home and I was working for Parks and Recreation here. And that's when they did their big reunion tour. Day one, Tiger Stadium, all the original members of Kiss, and
makeup back on,
all the original members of the whole thing. And they're, playing all the hits, Deuce, Strutter, Rock and Roll All Night, all of those. And so Kiss just keeps popping up over and over in my life. And they've always been a favorite of mine. I saw them a couple years ago on their 50th farewell tour. I'm not sure. It was still
having another one this year.
Yeah, I think they're still on it, and it was fantastic. Say what you want about them, and they don't have all the original members, and there's some things I don't agree with what they're doing. But they don't care. They don't care what I think. They're Kiss. No. They're the rock and roll Vegas show that is still a rock and roll Vegas show with pyrotechnics and video and guitars that shoot stuff out of it and knock down spaceships and drum risers. It's a good show. It's a show. It's a rock and roll show.
Okay, let me ask you this.
I love it.
Let me ask you this. How many members of Kiss need to be there for you to consider it still Kiss?
Oh man. If they get rid of this is kind of my thing with most bands, not all, because we could have an AC/DC argument here.
Exactly.
Because you know where I'm going with this.
Yep,
if they lose the lead singer at this point, I'm probably out.
So wait a minute. Okay, forgive me for sounding naive, but is Paul the lead singer?
Yes, Paul.
But
Paul Stanley.
Gene sometimes sings.
Gene Simmons sometimes sings, yes, but Paul Stanley is basically, if you lose Paul and Gene, and it becomes the greatest Kiss cover band at that point. And it would probably be great to watch whoever does it do it, because they would do a great job and they would have the whole show and makeup. And even Gene and Paul have said this. They're like, we can put anybody under this makeup and just keep the machine going. They're not wrong.
Okay.
But I just don't know if I'd be in at that point.
So Gene Simmons gets in a fight with Paul Stanley. Gene Simmons retires. Paul Stanley wants to tour again. And they replace him with, say, David Hasselhoff.
On bass?
On bass.
They replace.
I mean, he's got the chest hair. He's in makeup, so you can't tell.
They replace him with Death from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
There you go. Would you see that show? Kiss.
Of course.
It would be like
with Death.
It would be, instead of just the big gleaming KISS, it would be Kiss and then a question mark. Kiss?
So if they got rid of Gene, would they change it to Piss Paul?
Hey, there you go. So would you go see that? Would you see that?
I'd like to say no, but I
But you
probably would.
Nice.
I probably curiosity would kill the cat.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Gene Simmons is joining us right now. Gene, what do you think?
I had a chance to interview Gene Simmons once, and work got in the way of it.
What?
Yeah.
Well, at least prom didn't get in the way of it.
At least prom. Yeah. There's a lot of concert going in music life that my reliable working ass just got in the way of going to these shows and doing stuff. So, but yeah, I've always been a big Kiss guy, but that first, like my first real memory of going, I love Kiss, is with that song, Lick It Up.
Nice.
Which a lot of people would be like, what, 80s Kiss, no makeup? Nah, nah, nah.
Doesn't matter.
It. Don't care.
The
and they also, good. And Paul Stanley also had a BC Rich guitar, just like the guys in Poison later would. If you were an 80s guitar heavy metal band, you probably had a dude with a crazy BC Rich guitar.
I know that there are people that listen.
I have one right behind me
really?
On my bench right here. Yeah, I have a BC Rich Warlock that needs some work.
Looks like Darth Vader.
Well, that is Darth Vader. The guitar's laying down, Smarty.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, there's my Kiss. I've also seen him in concert a couple times. They've been good both times. One we talked about, me and Jim talked about in the Stone Cold Jim Bollinger episode. He took a bath on those tickets, but it was me, Doc, Jim, Slick Rick, Empire, and Empire's girlfriend, who I don't remember who that was at the time. But we all saw him at the Palace Auburn Hills. I thought it was fantastic. Jim has other memories. He almost died because he was allergic to my cat. So there you go. Wrapped it all up for you.
Okay. That's what you call a callback. All right. So my next one is going to be a sort of story I told way back in episode 2-ish or something, but I'm not going to tell the whole story again. However, I am going to talk about movies for a moment. And movie soundtracks. Sometimes you watch a movie, the soundtrack makes that movie infinitely better, right?
Well, let me guess.
Yeah.
It's Against All Odds.
I love that song, but no. I love that song. It's probably my favorite Phil Collins song. But no, I was not talking about that at all. So back in, 1985, I would have been, 6? That can't be right.
I was 10.
Okay, so 1985, a movie comes out. And this movie has, a lot of expectations. There are people who have seen prequels to this movie. This is part of a series. And everybody is interested in what the song is going to be from these movies. Each one has a song, has a theme, has an impactful pop artist creating a dynamic thing to go with this dynamic action movie. Not only that, but no, not that. Not only that, but people are very passionate about the particular actor who plays the particular role in these movies, because that hasn't been consistent over the years. I'm talking about Sir James Bond. The movie is A View to a Kill.
Yeah.
Mr. Roger Moore, who is probably nobody's favorite Bond, but my favorite Bond.
Oh, I was going to say, can I interject here for a minute?
Yeah.
Roger Moore, in my brain, because of when I grew up, just like you, I'm only a couple years older than you.
Right.
He is James Bond. That's who I remember as James Bond. Yeah.
So most people would disagree with us, and you're aware of that. Most people think he's maybe not the worst.
People are wrong.
But in the bottom two. To me, he's in the top two. He's probably the first one. I really like the new guy, but I think that Roger Moore was my James Bond. And so
really, Daniel Craig? You like Daniel Craig as James Bond?
I like him. I do. I like him. Okay. So the song that made this movie even more intense, even more exotic than the actors they chose to be in this movie, more exciting, was Duran Duran, View to a Kill. That song is my favorite Bond song, and there have been many, many good ones. Sir Paul McCartney wrote one. I mean, Adele wrote an amazing one. Madonna has done them. Like, there's a lot of different really good Bond themes, but A View to a Kill to me is the best one. And I will die on that hill because it's great. And every time I hear that song, I get super excited, no matter what context. If I'm driving, if I'm cooking dinner, I'll start rocking out. So that has always been my favorite Bond movie, and that has always been my favorite Bond theme song. But I wasn't a huge fan of Duran Duran, their entire body of work. I knew that song. I knew that they had other songs. They were cool, fine, but I wasn't a super fan. Cut to like 15 years later, roughly, watching a Duran Duran concert while I am on air at Sunny 102 in Marquette, Michigan. So I'm simultaneously DJing, and I've got the screen up on the wall playing this Duran Duran concert, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, you know what? These guys are effing amazing. Like, they're so good now. It's been 20 years since they released probably their biggest hit, but they're awesome, and they still sound great, and the band's still tight. They've got really good, intensity in there, and they play from beginning to end. Their show was awesome, and the crowd was loving it. And I was like, you know what? Nobody appreciates Duran Duran like they're supposed to. And I got kind of mad because I was just like, a lot of people think Duran Duran is just like an 80s pop, poster band and don't take them seriously. And they are good. Like, Simon Le Bon's voice is still good now. Like, they just put out a new album, and the new single is called Invisible, and it's good. It's very Duran Duran, but it's so good. So I'm excited about what else comes from that album. But at the time, roughly, I don't know, that was the late 90s, early 2000s, I decided something has to be done about this. Duran Duran is awesome and nobody cares. So that's when I created Duran Duran Appreciation Day. And
you did create this. This is not, you're not bullshitting everybody.
No, exactly. And again, we talked about this way back in episode 2 or 3. So I don't want to tell the entire story again, but basically I decided that this needs to be an official holiday. So I made it my birthday. I filled out this form, sent it away to Chase's calendar of events. And then years later, like right now, if you were to Google it, pause this podcast. If you were to Google it, it exists. Make sure you're celebrating. August is just around the corner. Make sure you celebrate Duran Duran Appreciation Day and play some Duran Duran on August 10th. And I've been a huge fan since then. Yeah.
It's right there. Does it say that you created it? Oh, we won't get into that whole.
It might. Rabbit. I think it does. But so that moment in time made me appreciate a band that I already knew about, and I had heard. I mean, they played on MTV all the time, and I was just like, oh yeah, they're pretty good. But that moment 15 years after, when I saw them again, and I thought like how consistent their music was, and how at least every decade they've had a hit. I mean, since and many decades, they had several, but I've been a huge fan since then. So they're definitely in my top 5 probably favorite bands, but that moment made me say, all right, Matt, this has to be, people have to appreciate this more than they do. So that's Duran Duran.
And it's here. It's on the internet. I'm looking right at it right now. Created by a Michigan radio disc jockey because it coincided with his birthday. For several years now, August 10th has been Duran Duran Appreciation Day.
Mm-hmm.
It's right there. DDAD. DDAD.
DDAD, yeah. I think it's a hashtag. I think if you look up the hashtag right now is DDAD 21 because it's, 2021. So that people are already planning what they're going to do for Duran Duran Appreciation Day.
It's got a Facebook events page, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, I didn't create that. It's
Bro,
snowballed.
You're famouser than I thought. How come you didn't tell me this? We've been friends for years. I didn't know you were this. I knew you did this, but I didn't know you weren't. I didn't know you were semi-internet famous.
I literally submitted that, and I have done no legwork after that moment. This is just the Duranis, like the people who are hardcore fans that like still have posters on their walls and stuff.
Did you call them the Duranis?
Yeah, that's what they call themselves.
Really?
But they have ran with it. Like, this is all, I am not taking any credit other than that it was my idea, but they have ran with it until it's huge now. So, yeah.
Dude, we're going to hashtag the shit out of the Duranis. They owe you one.
I did get some bumper stickers once from the fan club, but that's it.
Bumper stickers? I want follows and likes. Screw that.
I went for a time, I really didn't want to be the guy. Like, I didn't want the attention, and I still don't really want the attention because I'm just not that guy. But it would be cool for Duran Duran to know. That part would be neat. Like, if Duran Duran just kind of tipped the hat and said, "Hey, thanks, buddy," I'd be like, "Thank you. That's cool."
Yeah, I could get on board with you for that, because a lot of things when you write it, and especially when an artist has an effect on your life, and it's not that you want them to be like, "Oh, dude, bro, that's so," you just want them to say, "Hey, that's cool. I'm glad what I did had an effect on your life.
Yeah.
Thanks for acknowledging us. We acknowledge you." And then that's really all most of us fans are looking for.
That's it. And I mean, the bumper stickers were cool. I appreciate it.
Yeah, they are. Likes and follows would be good too. We'll take those.
Yes. Agreed.
So, fun fact, I have a favorite Duran Duran song.
You do? What is it?
I'm going to let you guess.
Girls on Film.
No, I do love that song, but that's not my favorite. No, it's an odd one, actually. It's from their comeback album.
So, okay, wait. Then it would be Ordinary World.
It is Ordinary World.
Nice.
I think that's a fantastic song. I think it's very underrated. That one and Come Undone, both off the same album, I think were really good.
Yes, and, I agree. Both,
because they were one of those bands that, because I was a big MTV kid. Of course, I knew who Duran Duran was. And then, but when that album came out, I remember hearing that, and I didn't realize that it was them.
Yeah. And
then I listened to it more, and I was really starting to get into guitar then. And the guitar player at the time, I can't say his name right. It's Warren Cucurullo, I think is how you say it.
Yeah. I don't think he's in the band anymore.
He might not be. But either way, on that album, those songs, I just think they sounded really good.
Yeah. No, they are really good. And when you are and this kind of goes into like guilty pleasure territory, but they're one of the bands that I haven't really yet been able to find something they do that's weird that I haven't liked or at least respected. So like, they did a covers album back in the 90s, and most people hate it or are offended by it or angry at the covers they chose. They took some interesting choices, but I love it. I mean, they did White Lines. They covered that.
I remember that one.
911 is a Joke. They covered Public Enemy, and a couple other songs that were outside their wheelhouse. And it's a really solid covers album. So if you like cover songs and you haven't checked it out yet, you definitely need to check it out. But Duran Duran definitely had a big impact on my life at a couple different points.
I remember the White Lines cover because I think we played that all the time on Radio X.
Dang, dang, diggity, dang, dang. Yeah, it was good.
But I didn't realize that they did a Sly and the Family Stone cover. I Want to Take You Higher.
They did, yes.
They did, of course, The Crystal Ship by The Doors, which is also in a Dead Milkmen song.
Yes.
It's in Bitch and Camaro.
It is. They did a Zeppelin song.
Yeah, they did Thank You. And I'm actually going to have to go listen to that because I feel like they would do a really good job of Thank You.
They do good. If you like Come Undone, you'll like their version of Thank You. It's solid. And I think that they do it in their style because they definitely have a sound.
Yeah.
So they're not imitating the artist that they cover. They're doing a Duran Duran version of the song, which I respect. I think that's
when cool. Covers are really good, I think.
Yeah.
There's some bands who will just do a straight up redoing of the song. Like when Weezer did that Cars song that I can't remember. Did they do Just What I Needed? No. They did one for the movie Cars. I just don't remember what one it was. It was that memorable, but they did a good version of it. Like if you heard them do that in a bar as a bar band, you'd be like, "Well, that was a good job. You nailed it." It's not really them doing it, but it's just them covering it.
They're impersonating.
Yeah. So Duran Duran.
Yep.
And Duran DDAD.
DDAD. Check it out.
Appreciation Day. Check it out, kids. well, there's probably not many kids listening besides mine. So fellow adults,
Attention, fellow adults.
attention, fellow adults.
Please tune
August
into
10th.
this hashtag.
Go give us likes and follows. Thank you, fellow adults. We're certified young people, just like that was one of the best pandemic commercials, by the way.
Yeah.
Paul Rudd doing certified young people.
Yes. Those were
Anyways.
fun. All right. Do you want to do another one, or do you want me to do another one? My next one is kind of super long.
See, my next one's kind of super long too.
All right. Okay, you do yours, and then I'll do mine. Go ahead.
So mine is super long, and this is the one where, and I wrote a lot of stuff.
Okay.
And it was just all mashed together. So if some of it sounds like I'm reading, it's because it was very stream of conscious when I was doing it. Because there's probably a lot more to this because it's very much attached to a specific moment in time, like big time.
Gotcha.
Like,
okay.
And,
I'm ready.
And it's actually 3 bands. Well, 2 bands, 3 artists, kind of. It's the Gaslight Anthem.
Yep.
Whose lead singer is Brian Fallon. So I'm including his solo records.
Good.
And Frank Turner of Frank Turner and the Sleeping Souls. Or if you were really cool and underground in the early 2000s, he was part of Millions Dead.
Okay.
So, but my bands were essentially the Gaslight Anthem and Frank Turner because I discovered them pretty much at the same time.
Okay.
So I put these 3 together because they represent a very certain point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
When I discovered them all, I had just become a father of 3. And I was listening to a lot of stuff on you may or may not remember these of Slacker Radio, Pandora.
Yes, of course.
And I was getting into online radio stations like WEQX out of Vermont. That was one of them. And at this point in my life, this would have been in the 2008, 2009, 2010, right in there.
Okay.
My career, family life, and friendships were all kind of at this weird crossroads at that point. It was mid-30s. I was like, metal wasn't really doing it for me anymore.
Yeah. I'd
listened to every pop punk group out there. I was listening to the emo stuff, which I really dug, but I was in my mid-30s. It was really hard to be emo.
Sure, yeah.
I'm in the middle of my career. I have kids. I'm married. I'm a homeowner. I have cars. It's you feel kind of fake being.
Yeah, you don't.
I'm not a teenager,
right? Yep.
You connect on a certain level, but not on the scene level,
right?
So I was going through those, and to be completely honest, my ex and I kind of discovered the Gaslight Anthem at the same time. Mm-hmm. But I really took to them. She dug them, but I want to say my first real remembering of them was on their American Slang album, which I think just turned 15.
Jeez.
No, hold on. It couldn't have turned 15. 11?
Okay.
I think it was 11. Either way, it just had a record birthday not too long ago.
All right.
Than the past couple of weeks. And one of the songs, of course, American Slang was the lead track off there. But the one song that really jumped out to me, and this will kind of make sense a little more here in a minute, was the song Bring It On.
Okay.
And just, it was an immediate connection. Heard it on all of those different things. And they were kind of rock, but they kind of had a punk kind of lean to them. Not on that record, but on earlier records. But they were very Midwestern, even though they were from New Jersey. I feel like there's this connection after listening to a lot of podcasts and a lot of music. There's a very big connection between like New Jersey, that part of not Philadelphia, but that part of Pennsylvania that connects to New Jersey right through there.
Definitely.
And like mid Michigan, it's like that working class.
Yeah.
Like underdog story, that whole thing.
Yes.
Like
I agree.
Michigan, I joke and call Michigan the Florida of the North, but we're also kind of the Jersey of the Midwest.
That's fair.
Yeah. There's a lot of similarities there.
Yes.
It's very working class and very,
definitely.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, kid. Let's go. That type of thing. So, but that album was the first one that connected to me. And then I just started consuming everything I could. And I, got their Sink or Swim, the 59 sound, which was like 2008's alternative record of the year. Didn't even hear it when it came out.
Oh,
I
really?
discovered it later on. Yeah.
Wow.
And then they had an EP in there, Senior and the Queen. All solid, all great, beginning to end, good songs. They were one of those bands that I feel like should have been much bigger than they got.
They had buzz, but then they didn't have hit traction. Like they didn't get.
Yeah, their biggest hit was 45, which was off of their Handwritten album, which was another solid album.
But if you ask a lot of artists about some of their favorites, I think a lot would say Gaslight Anthem, even though they never hit the charts.
Yeah. During that period of time, they got almost big. Like I think they were successful enough. I don't want to say that they would never have to work again, because all of the guys in that band are either in other bands, or I think one of them owns a barbershop. Like they work, but I think they still have residuals and money coming in. Like they got big enough that provided a stability.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Now I'm assuming all this. I don't know any of them personally.
I hope they're not poor.
Yeah.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the band My Morning Jacket. Just
really?
Because, well, not in sound, not at all in sound, but in the sense that they had such a buzz and such I don't want to say underground following, but a lot of really influential artists and people who were in bands have said that they love Gaslight Anthem. And a lot of really big bands and artists have said they love My Morning Jacket, but neither of them, those bands themselves, got to that next level of household name,
Yeah, they never got what I like to call they never got the Dropkick Murphy status. Dropkick Murphys have never had a hit ever that I'm aware of, but everybody knows who they are.
Yeah.
And they make a total living just being the Dropkick Murphys, and they do well.
Yeah, right.
Like
exactly.
They have a following. It's like this.
Yes.
I don't want to say it's Grateful Dead-ish, but in those circles, like everybody knows who they are. And even people outside of those circles are like, yeah, I know the Dropkicks. Yeah, know who they are. The Bouncing Souls are another great band who are like that, out of that New Jersey area.
Yeah, see, maybe that's the way to be.
Yeah, they just tour and tour and tour. They make a living. And they don't have to do anything else but be the Bouncing Souls.
Right.
But
anyways, there's not millions of people angry if they do something different on their next album. Like they're enough under the radar that there's no hype machine to kill them.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that was, don't want to say hurt the Gaslight Anthem, was that they started out with a real punk edge, DIY, do it yourself, that whole thing edge.
Yeah.
But as they made an album and they kept making albums, they still had that sound, but they got more towards mainstream alt rock, which is not a bad thing.
No, not necessarily.
They still wrote good songs. Like I think their final album, Get Hurt, was a great album, but because it was so not like the other albums, everybody was like, meh, like Pitchfork hated it. And I've kind of thinking, like, if Pitchfork hates something, I should go listen to it because it's probably cool. But anyways, that's not the point of this. This was not a dissection of the Gaslight Anthem.
Yes.
What it was between them and Frank Turner, they all came into my life at a point in time where really what was starting to happen, and I don't want to dig into the dirt and all of that stuff, but essentially my marriage started to go south.
Yeah.
For whatever reasons, that's not the point of this, but it did. And these songs, these albums, these artists, especially the Gaslight Anthem and Frank Turner, there was a couple other ones in there that were there, but these two artists were essentially the soundtrack to my divorce.
Yikes.
But they were the good side.
Right. They helped you get through it.
Like, Bring It On. Like, if you listen to the song Bring It On, like, it's right there.
I'm writing it down.
And it was almost like, oh, like I discovered that at that point in time for a reason. Like fates, however you want to say it, God, fates, whatever. Like there was a reason I heard that right then.
Yeah. I agree.
And then I built everything from there. And the other funny part is the first song I remember from Frank Turner which was released right around the same time, was Love Iron Song.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of a song about getting old and how I'm going to get the lyric wrong, but I was saying like punk rock didn't live up to all it was supposed to be. So I've packed up my bags and I've put them on the shelf. And then he goes into singing about, once we were young and we were brash enough to care.
Yeah.
And then the song goes on to say, well, for just one more night, we can man the old barricades, about, going out and having that feeling again, like you can do this and it will matter. And all of these things there's going to be a point, but then you just wake up with a hangover the next day and go on about it again. I guess,
but it gets you through stuff like that's
yes.
Cool. I think that's a really important musical origin story, because it makes you kind of wonder, and all of these, as we're talking about them, all of these kind of make you wonder, had I started listening to this in a completely different context, would I be as much of a fan? And I don't know. I don't think we can really answer.
And I don't think I would. I don't think it would have hit different.
Yeah.
Like I would have liked it, but it wouldn't have meant like
exactly. It doesn't mean the song is different. It doesn't mean it's not they're not as talented. It just means that you were in that moment and it hit you a particular way, and the rest is history.
So during that point in my life, as things are going on and there's ups and downs and all that, they had a pop-up show when they released Handwritten. Mm-hmm. That was their first, I want to say that was their first major label. I think they were on Mercury. Their first major label was Handwritten, and they had a pop-up show at St. Andrews Hall. Okay. And somehow I got tickets. We got tickets for it. I don't remember if I bought them. I don't remember if my ex bought them. I don't remember who bought them. I just remember we got tickets for it.
Okay.
And it ended up being me, my buddy Kyle, my sister Rachel, and her friend Andy. Okay. Because I can't remember why, but my ex couldn't make the show.
All right.
So we went, and it was the first time I ever saw a band at St. Andrews Hall, believe it or not. And it was so loud. Like it was so loud up in the balcony that if you didn't know the songs, you probably wouldn't have known what the hell they were doing.
Oh, wow.
It was just that loud, but it was so good. And I was so zoned out. I got a picture somewhere of me standing in the balcony with my big oil can of PBR, and it was so hot. And I'm just rubbing it on my forehead because I'm sweating. I had a Dropkick Murphys t-shirt on too. That was kind of the tie-in there. And we went, and it was, I bought a t-shirt, like I liked them before, but I bought in at that moment. I was like, I'm in, this is the thing. I'm going to buy all the records. I'm going to get the stuff. Yeah. And I'm in, and I'm going to listen to everything. And another funny part about that show is we went downstairs. There's a place below St. Andrews Hall called The Shelter. And they were doing a tasting of Jack Daniel's Honey. It's this whiskey.
Okay.
So, the liquor companies, they trot out all the hot girls in skin tight clothes and to serve all of this stuff. And I took a shot of this stuff. We all went down there. We all took a shot of it. And it was so bad. I looked at the waitress. I says, your hotness can't even make this taste good.
Classic.
And then I got the stink eye and we left. And so fast forward, some more stuff goes on, and they release their next album called Get Hurt, which was their final album. And it was 2015, if I remember correctly, 14, 15. And so as soon as tickets went on sale for it, it was the Fillmore in Detroit. I got tickets for it. It was them, Against Me, and another band who I do not remember off the top of my head. But that was the night too. I also became a fan of Against Me because they were fantastic. But that was the last show that my ex and I went to. Wow. And we went with me, my ex, my buddy Kyle, and my sister Rachel.
Nice.
And so that leads into, I told you this was a long one. So then the divorce starts to happen. Mm-hmm. And these are my songs. This is my playlist. This is what I'm listening to. And like, if you listen to the songs like Stay Vicious, Get Hurt, and the song Dark Places, you can totally understand why. And then you go back through their other catalog, Handwritten. All of those songs are very working class, hard times, remember the good times, but you just keep slugging away.
It was your therapy.
It was. Totally was. Which led, I mentioned Frank Turner.
Yeah.
And I discovered him right about the same time. And right about that time, me and my, divorce is going almost final. Me and my person of interest, Amy, as I like to call her now, thanks to you. That's when we start hanging out and getting together. And that next summer around, she gets me tickets to see Frank Turner open up for Flogging Molly. It was actually Chuck Reagan of Hot Water Music, Frank Turner and the Sleeping Souls, and Flogging Molly, who I've seen Flogging Molly many times.
Good show.
Yeah, they're great too. I could have put them on this list too, but sorry guys, you didn't make it. Didn't make the cut on this one next episode. So we saw them. That was great. It was so hot that day. Freedom Hill Amphitheater in Detroit, Sterling Heights, I believe is where that is. And but I got wind that Frank was playing a solo set at the Farmington Hills Library. So I went. As soon as I found that out, it was just one of those stupid chances online. I was like, what? I bought them. The moment I saw it, I bought them. Didn't even care if I was going to go. I was getting tickets just to make sure I had them if I could go.
Yeah. Farmington Hills is what, 2 hours, 3 hours away?
Yeah, 2.5. Yeah. Everything down Detroit way from where I live is, I just say 3 hours and you're there.
Yep.
And, because that's how you measure distance in Michigan. It's not by miles, it's by hours.
Yep.
How long does it take you to get there?
Yeah. Miles don't matter.
So me, Amy, and my buddy Kyle go down and see Frank perform solo with his guitar at the library. We bought his book. I got his book signed. He signed it to me and Amy. Like you went through the line, got to meet him. I hugged him so hard. Like I fangirled like I've never fangirled before.
Yeah.
And he talked to me. I told him, he let me tell him that how much his songs meant, and that he was, him and the Gaslight Anthem were essentially the soundtrack to my divorce, which is kind of weird, but he took it cool. And I had a Gaslight Anthem shirt on. And this is how I got to that point. He was like, hey, I love your shirt. Those guys are awesome, because he toured with them. And that's what led to that. And so I hugged him some more, and he's a hugger. So he hugged back, and then he hugged Amy. And then I said, this is my girlfriend, or as I like to say, my person of interest, Amy. And he goes into, because if you listen to his songs, Amy is a character in a lot of his songs. And he's like, oh my gosh, I didn't write that. I didn't mean that as a bad thing. Actually, it's, and so we all got to laugh because there's a whole lot of songs about Amy, and it's not good.
That's funny.
So, but that was my total favorite part. But my next favorite part of that meetup was my buddy Kyle was right behind us in line. And Kyle is not a hugger.
No.
And Frank just lays a hug on him. And I couldn't take him. Like, I have a picture, but it's blurry because I couldn't take it fast enough because I was laughing. Because he was good about it. And he kind of, he semi hugged back a little bit, kind of got his book signed, said thank you, and went on his merry way because he's not as big of a fangirl as I am.
Right.
And so then we went to the show later, and it was great. We had tickets right next to the sound pit, so it was awesome. And it was awesome. Yeah. Now I have one more Frank Turner story.
All right.
Before I end this.
Now the rest of the story.
Kind of, so like now we have gone from before my divorce into my divorce, currently in the divorce final, go to another Frank Turner show.
Okay.
But this one is me, Amy. Supposed to be my sister Rachel, but she had some things to do. So Amy's friend Tara came with us, my buddy Kyle,
of course,
and Amy's daughter Kylie.
Okay.
Who had started to listen to Frank because of us.
Nice.
And we took her down. I think she went instead of like an awards banquet for sports or something. She's like, I'd much rather go to this than that. And there's a whole kind of thing about that, but that's a different podcast.
Okay.
And so we're on the floor. Frank puts on it was Frank Turner, Lucero, the Menzingers, and the Homeless Gospel Choir, who will play into this story also. So we're on the floor and we're crammed up against the front, as you should be at shows like that. You should be in the people. And when the Menzingers came on, when they played their song, I Don't Want to Be an Asshole Anymore, I was like, hold my keys and my beer, into the pit I go. There's me. And, doing my best pit at, 40 plus years old. So we go through the whole concert. Frank jumps down doing when he does 4 Simple Words, and he's dancing with people in the crowd. He's crowd surfing. He's totally gets into the show with the audience. So we do the whole thing. Tara almost gets in a fist fight. It was a great concert. Great. Fantastic. So we're going to leave and we're walking out. And we notice there's this guy standing in the lobby. No, it's not Frank. I wish it would have been, but it's not. But it was this guy that we saw come on stage to open the entire night. I thought he was a guitar tech. He came out with an acoustic guitar and he kind of tunes real quick. And then he yells, "This is a protest song," and starts playing. Well, he went by the Homeless Gospel Choir. He actually has a whole band, but it was just himself playing guitar. His name's Derek Zanetti, but he goes by the Homeless Gospel Choir. So he goes through his whole set, became a fan that night right there. It was great. So we see him in the lobby afterwards. And we're all thought it was great. So we went up and talked to him, and he talked to us and took a picture with Kylie. And I still have that somewhere. So now that was great. Discovered, another band. I already knew who the Menzingers and Lucero were when we went there. I didn't know who this other group was. Now I follow him on Instagram and Twitter and everywhere. And he's fantastic. And I have a picture of him with essentially my stepdaughter at the show. I didn't get my picture with him because I wasn't thinking that far ahead, because that would have been the right thing, the smart thing to do. But you
have the memory.
So that whole Gaslight Anthem, and then Brian Fallon, Amy and I saw him on both of his solo tours that he came through Detroit. I yelled at him up on stage. He yelled back at me. So I had my minor connection there. It was fantastic. So that group, the Gaslight Anthem, Brian Fallon, Frank Turner, pre-divorce, through divorce, post-divorce, still listening, like that whole, probably the past easily 10 plus years, that combination has been my go-to for almost everything.
The soundtrack of your life.
Yeah. So there, I tried to cram everything that I wrote here into as fast as I could.
You did a great job.
Get the whole thing in there. So I'm going to hashtag the hell out of this when it gets online and see.
We're going to have a lot of hashtags and a lot of bands mentioned, because I have to, for my last one, and it kind of works perfectly that we're ending this with my last one, because I actually am going to do some semi work cited page. But we'll get to that.
Are you going to do a bibliography?
We're going to have a bibliography. So, working at Radio X, and this is, one of the things that we talk about a lot, is that the exposure to music that you don't otherwise hear, you would never otherwise hear, that you're more or less forced either by osmosis or by just loving the station. You end up hearing music that you had no idea you would ever find yourself listening to. And so I had a list of 11 or 12 different bands that I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to lump them all into this last one because it kind of goes together. So working at Radio X, the first weird band that I ever heard that was outside of my wheelhouse was Fish.
Fish.
My first day training, I trained with Rude Dog.
I was going to say had to be Rude Dog. Had to be.
And Rudy was playing, Fee by Fish. And I was like, what the fuck is this weird ass music? I can't even tell what's happening. It's about a weasel and a banana, and it's just so bizarre. And that was the start of me saying, you know what, I'm going to be exposed to some crazy stuff, and I just have to be open to it and explore these artists that I had never even heard of before. So working at the X got me to Modest Mouse, yep. which I love, and they have a new album out now.
It's good.
Jets to Brazil. Love Jets to Brazil. Not a lot of people have heard of them, but their Orange Rhyming Dictionary album had so many good songs that were transformative. They're kind of like, I don't know, if Psychedelic Furs and Cracker had a baby, they would be similar to Jets to Brazil. That's the only way I can really lump them together. But if you haven't heard of Jets to Brazil, definitely check them out. But another band that played a lot, and at least we played a lot, and I heard it a lot, was Soul Coughing. And they had a couple, I don't know, 3 or 4 maybe at least college radio charted hits. Super Bon Bon was a big one that got a lot of airplay I think that was from their first album.
That's the first one that came to mind for me.
Yeah, it was great. They had a lot of play from, there was an album that came out that was like, it wasn't from X-Files, but it was supposed to be like, I don't know, what's the word? Inspired by, thank you. Inspired by the X-Files, that TV show, Songs in the Key of X. They had that song Unmarked Helicopters from that song that got a lot of airplay, or from that album that got a lot of airplay. And then when their third album came out, El Oso, they had Circles, which was actually a pretty, I think that might have been one of their bigger hits.
Yeah, that was all over the radio, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was a big hit. And that was unfortunately their last album, I think, when they were all together. But my favorite, and I don't know who played it first, and it would have been really cool if I could remember the first time I heard it, it was a song called Janine, and it was a kind of a ballad. And what I found so interesting was the way the song came together was the singer, Mike Doty, was singing over like a recorded phone message. And if you haven't heard this song, you have to check it out. But it's basically this girl singing a song on a phone message. Like she's leaving a message for somebody. And as she's singing, he's singing over it. And they're kind of like doing a duet. It's fascinating because you can hear she sounds like she's in a phone. He's obviously not. And it's both spoken word and singing, and the song is beautiful and weird and quirky. And at the end, there's like this long pause of just the tone, like when a recording's playing, it's going boop, and then there's a little static, and then boop. And I was just riveted. I was like, this is amazing, and this people can put this out as an album. This is so cool. It was different. It was and so experimental.
It was off the album Ruby Vroom.
Yeah, and it was so good. And it was something, I think it might have been my first real exposure to like experimental music. And I think Mike Doty describes their sound as Tom Waits meets A Tribe Called Quest, which I know it sounds so bizarre, but it works. And it's because they do often use like drum machines and acoustic guitar and, you know, melodic singing, but it's sort of like mixed and sampled, and it's very different music. Sorry, I had to take a drink of my delicious hibiscus tea. So anyway, so I loved them, and I played them at Radio X a lot, and Soul Coughing, and then I knew that shortly after El Oso they had kind of disbanded, and from what I heard, it was not happy. They're not fans of each other, but that's too bad. But that's neither here nor there. But anyway, a few years later, I think it was like, this is going to sound lame, I think it was on an episode of Grey's Anatomy. There was a song. I know. No. There was a song in the background of some scene, and I was like, that sounds like Soul Coughing. I got to find out what that is. And it was a song by Mike Doty. And so I downloaded it, and then I was like, well, Mike Doty's making music still. Well, that's cool, because he, you know, was a singer, and I think he did a lot of the arrangements for the music for Soul Coughing. And so I started to listen to some more of his stuff. He did a lot of acoustic versions of Soul Coughing songs. He did St. Louis' Listening, Fully Retractable. He did Circles. But then he also put out some of my favorites of his. Busting Up a Starbucks is a really good song. Ways and Means, I think, is my favorite by him. But he has a lot of really good music, and he's still very experimental, but it's just him and an acoustic guitar. He did a song with Dave Matthews, which was really cool. And that was called, Tremendous Brunettes, I think it was called. He did a song called 27 Jennifers, which if you haven't heard that, you have to check out. So anyway, I became
those sound like both great names to a band. Tremendous Brunettes and 27 Jennifers.
I
I'm going
know.
to write that down.
I know you really need to give him a listen if you haven't, because his the things he experiments with and still makes music that is really approachable and really interesting, but also different. Like, okay, so if you want a really weird one, that's so cool. There's a song that from Soul Coffin called Screenwriter's Blues. And it is, I don't even want to spoil it, but it's just fascinating and interesting. And you just have to check it out. But anyway, he wrote a book. He wrote actually 2 books. One was more or less about his years of being a drug addict and stuff like that. But he wrote a more recent one, and it was called I Die Each Time I Hear the Sound, a memoir. And he talks about musical moments in his life, his time, and how they shaped him, how they inspired him, how they changed the way he thought. And because I'm a huge fan of him, and because he is one of my probably favorite top 10, certainly, artists, I wanted to read an excerpt from this book because it really kind of encapsulates what we've been doing in a way. So and as an aside, I tweeted him and asked and told him, basically, I didn't really ask, so sorry, Mr. Doty, but I said, hey, I'm doing this podcast and I want to do an excerpt from your book. And he liked the tweet. So to me, that's approval.
That is, yes, that's approval.
I mean, he could have tweeted back cease and desist and I would have still been thrilled, but we wouldn't be reading this excerpt.
At least he didn't send you the middle finger emoji. So you got that going for you.
I'd be cool with that too. I mean, seriously, if he sent me a middle finger, I'd be like,
I just want acknowledgement.
So to cap off this episode, and thank you all for sticking through this as we kind of dive into our own brains and our musical histories. But to cap off this idea, I just wanted to read an excerpt from I Die Each Time I Hear the Sound, a memoir by Mike Doty. So this is an excerpt. I have to take another drink. We were working our way through the 9-disc complete Stax Volt singles box set, which Blank bought because she could afford to walk into Tower Records and spend $89.98 on a whim. These Arms of Mine is track 6, disc 2. When Otis Redding sang the word mine, the second repetition when the note gets higher, that word mine became a glowing flower, which expanded into the sky. Then the sky opened into the cosmos beyond the cosmos. Keep in mind, I just have to point out they were probably high.
Oh, yeah.
How
in the
corny
world of
to
high
call
drunkard genius, they would be high.
How corny to call singing angelic. What I mean is this one being, Otis, gooey and luminous, became a trillion beings, blotting out the clouds. Each being was one Otis, but also every person ever alive all at once. And he goes into basically how that small little few seconds of time felt like all types of time at the same time. So then he says, it's also incredibly a real moment in the living history of humanity that actually happened, that was recorded to a piece of tape in Memphis in October 1962. The song faded out. There was disorienting silence before track 7, disc 2, Teardrop Sea by the Tonettes. The world was absolutely new. That moment, and that's it. But that idea that from that moment after he heard that part of that song, he looked at things differently. Like that's like, and it's like what you were talking about. Like there are things in music that make you, that shift something. And it doesn't have to be what the song is about necessarily. It doesn't have to be, the artist taking some sort of crazy musical risk or doing something completely unheard of, but it could be. But it's you connecting to a song or connecting to even a word in a song that makes everything absolutely new. Yep. I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I could. There's a whole nother thing we could go into is lyrics that mean something. I know every music lover can do that, but you're right. You'll hear something and all of a sudden everything is new.
Yeah. So go buy his book. Everybody buy his book because he told me I could read an excerpt, and it's a really good book. If you're into like music, and if you're into like music having an effect on things in your life, you'll probably like it. But I like it, and he's a really good artist, so check out his stuff. But that's all I got.
Yeah, and I'd like to say that some of these bands we covered in here are very famous, and you probably know a lot of their stuff. But along with the go buy Mike Doty's book is, I would say, for me, if I was to tell you to go listen to something, I would tell you to go to listen to some TGA, Brian Fallon, and Frank Turner, because they were huge, and they have, like, I could sit here and quote lyrics from Frank Turner's song "The Way I Tend to Be," and kind of have the same revelation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, music, good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap up. I think. Have you been listening to anything new? You know what? Actually, I have to tell you, I have been listening to old stuff lately.
Yes.
Old, super old. And I don't know what it is that spawned this in me, but I have revisited the Doors catalog recently. I've been just, for some reason, exclusively listening to the Doors. So it's weird. I'm like gloomy and dark in a weird way.
You're so emo.
I know. He was pretty emo, but also crazy.
Yeah. See, I've been listening to, you're going to laugh, but I'm still listening to the slow jams from the Quiet Storm episode.
Nice. Anything in particular?
Nothing in particular. I just put on the playlist that and a lot of New Jack Swing from that early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Whip Appeal's still on there. Yeah. Whip Appeal is still on there.
It's great stuff.
And I didn't really get into this with music that made a difference in specific place and time, and I almost feel bad for it. But there was a big period of time where I listened to a lot of hip hop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
And especially like Run DMC.
Yeah.
Because they did that bridge. So I listen, in my playlist, there's a lot of that. I've been listening to a lot of also too, but in getting ready for this episode, I can't lie. I was listening to the pretty much complete catalog of the Gaslight Anthem and Frank Turner, and going through all of those memories. And there's memories I didn't even talk about that I feel bad about. Like I mentioned the song "The Way I Tend to Be." That is, for all intents and purposes, I guess you would say Amy and I's song. Because it was that point in time, like we danced at a wedding to it and nobody knew it. Like she went up and requested it and nobody knew what this song was except for me and her.
Nice.
So everybody looked at us like we were nuts, but it was super cool.
Kudos to the wedding band for having, or the DJ for having that song.
He looked at her like, who? And she's like, just download this. And she pointed out exactly what it was. And I had no idea what she was doing. And I was like, what?
Nice.
And get this, we danced on the rooftop of the Iron Sheiks old mansion. Top that shit right there. Can't do it. You'll try, but you can't.
I won't even try.
So I've been listening to a lot of those catalogs, but I'm with you. I've been going back to a lot of, like today, for instance, I said, "Hey, Tiny Robot." Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah.
Play oldies.
Oh.
And the funny thing is, even, I'm 46 now.
Yeah.
But when you say that, it plays the songs that were oldies when I was 10.
So like 50s and 60s.
The Beach Boys, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the classics.
I'm glad that's a genre and it's not like playing 80s music, because a lot of oldies stations were starting to leak that stuff.
It only played one song that was from, Amy and I were laughing because it was from when we were, late, early teens. It was Fast Car by Tracy Chapman.
Nice.
Which fit right into the mix, but it was the only one that wasn't from what you would consider, solid gold Saturday night oldies.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been listening to. That, and of course, but all the podcasts I follow, I almost can't keep up anymore.
I know.
There are certain ones that I have to listen to. Going Off Track. which is the drummer from the Gaslight Anthem, Benny Horowitz, isn't it?
Yeah.
I listen to them every time one drops. I'm a patron of their show, the whole 9 yards.
Nice.
Stuff they don't want you to know. I know they're like a major label podcast, but I still love them.
Yeah, it's good.
And I've got into like, our online friends, playlist wars.
Yep.
I have some definite things.
Discrepancies.
Yeah. We need to talk, guys. Yeah. We need to talk.
They know. Oh, they know.
And then, and I catch bits and pieces, maybe not whole episodes of the Nostalgia Test and Next on Stage one, because although not the atypical stuff I would always listen to, they're very nice to us online, and they have interesting stuff to say.
For sure.
I may not like all of it, but they have an interesting take on things that I've never looked at before.
Definitely. All right.
So I'm still listening to those. Yeah.
So we have given people a lot of food for thought. So basically, you need to listen to REM, Duran Duran, Gaslight Anthem, Frank Turner, Brian Fallon, Jets to Brazil, Mike Doty, Soul Coughing if you want to, Poison.
Did it hurt you to say that a little bit?
And every incarnation of Kiss.
All of them. The Vegas act to the original bar band.
At least, well, you know what's interesting though? If you took Kiss, and maybe since you are a guitar guy, you might be able to tell, but if you took a song from Kiss from any era, I don't know that I could tell, oh, this is 90s Kiss versus this is...
I could.
You could, really?
I'm pretty sure I could. I'm pretty sure I could score above 90% on that test.
I think Psycho Circus is the only album I could tell when they were playing. You know what I mean? Like that has a pretty distinct sound, but the rest I would have no idea. But you could, because you're a fan.
Yeah. Yeah, go listen. I mean, just go listen to music. Listen to the things that we listen to because we pick good stuff. But I guess if I was to encapsulate what we have tried to get across in 15 episodes, and at some point we'll keep getting our friends from Radio X and our former friends. I really would like to get some new people who work there on just to be old men going, what are you doing? You know, that type of stuff. But I think it would be fun. But if I could get across anything in 15 episodes is go listen to music, play music, be a part of music, go to shows, follow bands, get ridiculous about it, because
get jiggy with it.
You could even get jiggy with it. I even have a funny story about that song at Radio X, believe it or not.
Really?
And it involves Stone Cold Jim Bollinger.
Oh, I thought for sure it would involve Jeff, because he loved playing that.
Quick synopsis of it. I was on in the afternoon and I'm just playing some metal, just rocking.
Okay.
And Jim's jamming in his car, and I like make that hard segue from Pantera or something to getting jiggy with it. Because I like both of those things.
Yeah. But you need a sorbet, like a palate cleanser in between.
You need like a PSA in between or something, because that's pretty jarring. So Jim's got the stereo cranked up in his car, and then it goes to ha 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 ha. Yeah. And he's like, what the?
He thought something went
He's just like, wrong. Strawberries and shit. What's he doing? He even came in and said, dude, I'm just rocking out. And then Will Smith, really?
Really?
And I was like, really? And then laughed, I'm sure.
All right, that's going to wrap things up for us. I'm Matt. You show us everything you've got.
And I'm Jayce. You keep on dancing and the room gets hot.
You drive us wild,
and we'll drive you crazy. It's XRadioX. That wasn't bad.
That's good.
I think it worked.
Yeah.
Somebody was paying us, we might get tighter. But until then, it's our show and we're going to do whatever the hell we want.
If someone was paying you, you'd get tighter.
And there's our new intro.